All right, we're live. Welcome to Live and Let's Discuss, where we discuss one of the worst James Bond movies ever made. A View to a Kill, 1985?
Yep.
Roger Moore's final outing as Bond, and it was one too many.
hmm
Classic broccoli mess up. Classic. Like with Sean Connery with his previous film Diamonds Are Forever, they had one too many Bond movies. But this time we didn't have a novel to go off of because there aren't any novels left. We went off of a short story called From a View to a Kill, which we talked about a few episodes ago in For Your Eyes Only. It's in that Bond is basically on a motorcycle chasing smash agents, and that's it. So, needless to say, none of that happens in um, A View to a Kill. Instead, we get microprocessors and Silicon Valley and the incredibly miscast. Oh, his name's escaping me right now.
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken. I kept wanting to say Mark Wahlberg because microprocessors and The Departed,
Huh.
which I'd rather watch The Departed than this. So, yeah, this is one of the biggest messes that a James Bond movie has ever been.
hmm
It's so shockingly bad, so shockingly incompetent. It would take until the Daniel Craig era to actually make something worse.
hmm Oh, so you say this is even worse than Die Another Day?
I don't know. I think it is.
Ooh.
I'm not sure. We'd have to watch Die Another Day. That's going to be in a few episodes. I think they're equal in how bad they are.
hmm
So, first
They,
of
they they are in the same category for sure.
yeah, they're nonsense movies. First of all, we got to talk about Roger Moore. Again, this has been a thing we've been talking about for since Moonraker, I think. He's just too old to be Bond at this point. And he didn't have a contract anymore. He was on a film to film basis. And he kept just doing these for the fans. But he made the mistake of getting a facelift that made him look older,
Yep.
which is,
He and we have to point it out because it's visually so obvious when you watch the movie and you're just like, what is wrong with Roger's face? Something just doesn't fit.
yeah. And the thing is, Roger Moore didn't need to have a facelift. He was
No,
actually,
no, this is something we talked about in the last two episodes. For Your Eyes Only and Octopussy, he's older, you can tell, but the movies were clever about it. And he was still in good enough shape and looked good enough where it's like, okay, I can accept this.
he did the Hollywood thing, got a facelift. It actually made him look older. It did the reverse of what it was supposed to do.
Mhm.
But I guess he's doing some of his own stunts in this movie.
What?
Some
How
of
did
it
you get that idea?
some of it like he did some of the underwater stuff for close-ups and it's clearly him.
Huh.
That was weird. There's a lot of weirdness in here also.
Most of the you can see the stuntmen and you can see they
Well,
don't look like
in the
Roger
just
at all.
stuff, yes. Oh yeah, when with the car chase, yeah, that's a stunt man.
They don't even try to
They
hide it.
don't try. No, I was thinking of when he goes into the tube and he's getting sucked in. Those close-ups, that's Roger Moore.
Hmm.
They actually put him underwater because I think of For Your Eyes Only, where that's clearly not underwater. Like any sort of close-ups of Roger Moore, it's clearly a blue screen and like a freaking like snowblower blowing his hair to make it look like.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's oh Lord. Everything is bad in this
Yeah,
movie.
I'm
And
actually trying to think. So let's go through it. The acting is bad. The story is bad. The movie looks bad. The action is bad.
yes.
I guess the only good thing we can say is the soundtrack.
And even then, I don't think it's nearly as good as it should be. This is John Barry again, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
His second to last, because I think Living Daylights is his last outing.
Yes, yes, exactly.
And it's so weird. So Duran Duran does the song.
Mhm.
I mean, after this movie because of the Duran Duran song. But it's so the opening's fine. It's very 80s, like the not the opening, the credits.
Oh, the credit sequence specifically, because we have to talk about the opening scene.
Well, the opening scene is where we have yet another ski chase to the Beach Boys
Isn't that
after he finds
hilarious?
another dead double O agent,
Mhm.
and it leads to several wacky hijinks scenes of people like falling into water, people getting covered in snow. I think a flare gets shot into a helicopter in this. But here's the thing. It's so interchangeable with other ski Roger Moore skiing scenes that I can't distinguish it
The only
from.
memorable thing, funny enough, is the Beach Boys song.
Yeah,
And
it's not
the
that good.
end. And the end of it, because we get into a very fake looking submarine that's disguised as a rock.
Yeah.
And we end with very, 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 very old looking Roger Moore smooching a woman who looks like she could be his great granddaughter.
Yes. And then we go into the Duran Duran credits.
Yeah, that's when we get your most favorite, opening, when the woman is opening like her.
Iconic. It's what I think of. I think of 80s Bond is that.
Yeah, best part.
It's all neon and lights. It's wonderful. It's one
Mhm.
of my faves. It's the only time I'll say A View to a Kill has my favorite anything.
Yep.
It's so shocking how bad this movie is.
Mhm. So
And
basically, after this great opening song and sequence, it just falls apart right away.
oh yeah,
And
like
what I noticed, because with Octopussy, I think we mentioned it, the plot is like a mystery at first, where we
mhm.
don't really know what's happening, and we discover it along the way, and it makes sense. Like this, like how it sets up the story with the clown running through the forest being chased, and how
Yes,
that's awesome. And in this one, Bond finds the information in the pre-credits scene. Okay, easy. And then the next scene is just, okay, this is what we found, and then just hardcore exposition and go there and do this.
mhm.
And that's just lame in comparison, but also on its own.
And Christopher Walken's our villain. He's a billionaire who was German. He was like East German and then Russian, which
He
I think
became a KGB agent or something?
which it kind of feels like something Smesh would have done in one of the Bond books. Like it kind of felt like, oh god, what was his name? The guy Bond fights at the end of From Russia with Love.
Red Grant?
Yes, it felt like discount Red Grant.
Hmm.
And but he's a billionaire. He has horses.
He's called Max Zorin, and I like that I think it's at the openings. There's like a little text saying uh, it's not intended for the Zorin Corporation in this movie to reassemble any real life thing.
Yeah, I think they got sued
Hmm.
because I don't remember that being a thing. I think that's on recent releases that they put that on there. which is really funny. Um, the Bond, everything is off here. All right, like I can't stress that enough because honestly, we could just go on about every sort of plot detail in this, but I don't think it's worth it. It's such a flippin' mess. Um, the none of the Bond girls act properly. Like they're all Roger Moore has no chemistry with anyone in this, and that's
Yeah, I mean, I disagree. He has chemistry with his right-hand man. Remember the
oh
guy who's
yes,
pretending to be his butler, and they are actually a fun duo.
yeah, that's true. But like the American CIA agent that's not Felix Leiter,
Oh, the Asian one who gets murdered
yeah,
later on.
yeah, no chemistry with him, no
Mhm.
chemistry with any of the Bond girls.
Where there are three, right? There's the main blonde, there's the Russian agent, and there's Mayday.
Mayday, which oh god, what was her name? I can't remember that actress's name
Ooh, let me check. Let me double check.
because this was her literally like the peak of her career is in
Grace Jones.
Grace Jones, who dated Dolph Lundgren, who Dolph Lundgren's in this movie,
Yeah, he gets a cameo.
which I think is hilarious because it's a pre-Rocky Four Dolph Lundgren. He looks super young, but
Should we just talk about the details or just give a quick summary what the plot is? Because that's very easy, actually.
quick
The pl-
summary of the plot, and we'll just
the-
get into some of these weird.
then we can discuss all the little scenes. But yeah, the plot is essentially Goldfinger, but instead of gold, it's microchips.
Yes, and
Basically, Zorin wants to destroy Silicon Valley and all microchips so that his own microchips become more valuable. Which
yes,
I don't even know if that made sense back then. I don't think it does now.
it doesn't make any sense. It never made any sense.
And it's the worst aged Roger Moore or just James Bond plot in general, which all James Bond movies age, obviously.
Yeah,
But still, they feel the ones from the 50s still feel like, oh, this I can believe this could have happened in the 50s or 60s or whatever. This one is like, oh, this is so 80s, and you can
yes,
tell, and it doesn't work, and it doesn't
yeah.
hold up.
The only well, it makes me wonder with the Craig movies how well like Quantum of Solace will age over the whole. That one's all about like the oil.
Yeah, and Spectre was all about what was hot at the time, 2015. The government, everyone is being watched and stuff.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Bond movies they always try to be kind of timeless. I mean, there's no way of being 100% timeless
Mhm.
because you're gonna be hampered by what was the high tech of the time.
Yeah, but most Bond movies try to be somewhat clever with it.
Yeah, there's a handful that don't. Moonraker's one of them.
Yeah.
Moonraker it didn't age well. This actually aged worse than Moonraker, which I didn't think was possible.
Mhm. I mean, Moonraker has like, what was it, 1979? So it's like
Yes.
space travel and stuff. So it's like, yeah, okay, you know what? That's fine. In that era, okay. But here, it's just no.
Yeah. Also, Bond's back using the Walther PPK for no reason.
Hmm.
No reason. I'm sorry, these guys that play James Bond, they're too big to be using a gun that small. It's not comfortable.
Mhm.
At least the Walther P5 was like a 9mm and actually fit in Roger Moore's hand properly. Although they call it a PPK in Octopussy, and that drove me nuts. It's not the same shape. Oh my! We're about to have another gun rant.
Yeah, we shouldn't. Let's just move on. There's enough other stuff to talk about. Okay,
But
so general plot, it's just Goldfinger, but stupid with microchips, hardcore 80s. it could have worked because I think the general plot is like bad guy wants to destroy this to help
Yeah.
his own business. It's okay, that's fine. And we even get like a scene very similar to Goldfinger in The Blimp, which that's the one
Yes.
moment I like because that's just a nice reveal. When Zorin is revealing his plan, and one of the
Yes.
guys is like, I don't feel comfortable supporting you, I want to leave. And Zorin is like, all right, go out. And then he, gets killed because they are in a blimp, as we learn
Yeah.
at the end of that scene, and he falls down.
Falls to his death.
Yeah, so that's one nice moment.
This is also the only Bond movie to be filmed in San Francisco.
Hmm.
San Francisco before it got really nasty. It's only semi-nasty.
I think that's what this movie is also famous for, with the climax taking place on the bridge.
Yeah, the Golden Gate Bridge. Yeah, that's what anyone remembers from it.
Yeah.
No
And
one remembers anything else from this movie.
is there any other location in? Oh, I guess there is, when they're at this horse ranch or whatever it is, this French
Yeah.
place.
Yes, it's in Europe. It's a big mansion where they're putting microchips in horses to make them win.
I still don't understand this plot
I don't
point.
know why. It doesn't make any sense to me either. This
They're
is also
using microchips to make the horses go faster.
that's when we get the Allison Duty from Last Crusade shows up.
Oh yeah, that's her. I just rewatched Last Crusade last night, actually.
Yeah, she's great.
Mhm.
Great actress. I wish she had more to do, except for drown and hold a gun once.
Isn't she the famous Jenny Flex, or is that someone else?
Yes. Yes, and there's a couple others, but they aren't named, but they have the same like role as like Zoran's bodyguards.
Hmm.
That all dress like horse jockeys all the time for some reason.
Hmm.
But they actually hold General Gogol at gunpoint.
Who's
That's
also in this movie, again, his obligated cameo.
Yeah, and he's joined by Dolph Lundgren
Hmm.
in a very early cameo for Dolph Lundgren, who says nothing, which is good because that man cannot act.
Hmm.
But he was in here because I believe he was still dating Grace Jones at the time.
Yep, that's the story. She just dragged him to set.
Yeah, and she is just doing the weirdest acting in this movie.
Yeah,
Which
let's address the elephant in the room, the two main villains. And I say
Oh,
main villains because I don't think Mayday, the character, is supposed to be a henchman. But Grace Jones' presence is so overwhelming that she takes the top spot. She's on the poster
uh-huh.
instead of Christopher Walken. So
Well, she was a big deal at the time. This
yeah,
is like
which is why they got her stunt casting.
which I can't remember if this is before or after the second Conan movie, because she's in that. One of the better aspects because her acting's so bizarre in that movie. I laugh at just about everything she says. But she she and Christopher Walken have weird karate sex. That's a thing in this.
Where he kind of assaults her, but she's into it. That
Yeah,
scene
it's pretty
never
rough.
made sense.
And then she ends up sleeping with Bond, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh, that was an intentional joke that worked with his age and stuff, I guess.
Yeah, that's the only one of those that works because there's the Russian agent later, which should have been what's her face from
Oh, Anya from Spy Who Loved Me.
Spy Who Loved Me, which is a common thing that I've heard a lot of people say is it should have been her.
I think it was supposed to be her, but I couldn't get the actress. I don't know if that's true, but it would make sense.
Yeah, where Bond switches the tapes. We got to talk about the other thing that is iconic in this movie, which is Bond breathes out of a tire.
Hmm.
And it's only iconic because Mythbusters remembered it and they tried to find out if that actually works. So they submerged the car in the swimming pool. And they tried to breathe out of the tire underwater and it didn't work.
Oh.
That's after the goofy horse chase,
Hmm.
which I don't even want to talk about because it's so stupid.
Yeah, so basically first half there's a bunch of stuff with horses that goes nowhere, and I don't know how it connects to the main plot. Again, it's just
But Bond is St. John Smythe.
hmm.
But that's both his last
That's
name.
kind of fun. Him pretending to be Smythe.
Yes. It's just terrible, and I hate hearing the name St. John Smythe. Because it's just a terrible name. It's bad. I'm sorry if your name's St. John Smythe. It's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it.
Yeah, but that's also when we get the famous scene. Christopher Walken is talking to Bond, and Bond is pretending like he wants to buy a horse. Context doesn't matter. And Walken, he has like he's on his desk, and he has like a scanner or something on Bond.
Yes.
And he's doing stuff on his computer because it's the 80s. He has computers, and he's seeing like he has the gun, right? And he's Googling, oh, this is James Bond 007.
Mm-hmm. Because computers are magical.
It aged gracefully. Scenes like that.
Well, I mean, like, better Bond movies, like Living Daylights, have similar things with computers.
Too. Yeah, but I would say, like, we talked about this, the two Dalton movies, very 80s, but they aged well in that regard.
They were written better.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. So this is John Glenn again directing. And
it is screenplay by Richard Maybaum, who wrote most of the Bond movies, the established guy, and Michael G. Wilson also. So it's basically the same team as always, but something must have happened. Like,
well, when did Cobble Broccoli die?
Oh no, that's after this one, way after this one. He died after GoldenEye was released, I think, or during the production or something.
I thought he died during the Dalton era.
Oh, no, he was still alive during that.
Didn't someone die during the Dalton era?
No, I don't remember.
Okay, I just can't remember my Dalton facts. We're so close to. I'd rather talk about Living Daylights because it's just a better.
We will get to it, but we have to suffer through this first. But yeah, so this is the question. Why is this movie so bad? Why is it such a mess? We have the same writers as always, basically. We have a good composer who does a good work. We have this John Glenn back as director. And all his previous movies. We got For Your Eyes Only and Octopussy. 2 great movies.
Mm-hmm. And his following movies are really good, really well made, too. I think everyone phoned it in.
Yeah, because that must be it, because this movie feels so low energy.
You know what it feels like? It feels like Diamonds Are Forever.
Yes. I was thinking that watching it. It reminds I think it's also because it's located mostly in America, and that's just lame for the Bond franchise.
It looks better than Diamonds because Diamonds is out in the desert.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say this movie's super ugly, but it feels uninspired, like with the cinematography and stuff.
And yeah.
Moore finally feels just too old.
Mm-hmm.
The main Bond girl is terrible.
Yeah. What's her name? Tanya Roberts.
Yeah, Donna's mom from that 70s show, also known as I'm Gonna Blow a Vocal Cord Constantly. I don't know if there's ever been a Bond girl that screamed James as much as she does over everything. When they're in the burning elevator, she's just screaming and shit. I'm like, you're gonna pass out.
Oh, that famous scene. That's also when we get not Sheriff Pepper, who should have been Sheriff Pepper.
I wish it had been J.W. Pepper. I would have liked this movie a lot more.
That's where we are at right now.
Yeah, I would have taken anything. There's no Felix Leiter. There's no J.W. Pepper. Instead, we get Asian CIA agent who's murdered brutally.
And we get Bond's butler guy, who was fun, but they got rid of him very quickly, which is a shame. So I think it's just most of the characters in here suck.
Yeah, the Bond gadgets suck.
Oh, remember when he's in like Soren's party and he's wearing these gigantic glasses?
Yes.
And he's meeting the Nazi guy?
Yeah.
With the monocle?
I hate it. I hate it. I hate everything about this movie. The car chase where the car keeps breaking, where it's so blatantly the stunt double. I hate when Bond's in the tube and they're trying to cut him up with the propeller. I hate that he gets one up on the Russian by giving her a weird tape and taking the actual tape away.
That plot also went nowhere.
Yeah. It's also the only other time we see Gogol.
We see him because I noticed on rewatch last time. If you actually look at him sitting in the car, that's not the actor. That's a stand-in. But then when we are in the car, it's actually the actor. So yeah.
Yeah, I think he shows up at the end with Ed M's office.
Oh yeah, because he wants to give Bond like a thing.
There's some sort of Soviet reward.
Yeah,
like award for
bravery or whatever.
Yeah. It's just so I'm also reading Trigger Mortis right now. Which I'm not liking that. Well, I'm liking the second half of it.
After it stops being fanfiction.
Yes, after Pussy Galore goes away and he's fighting Smash and they're blatantly Smash. And I always forget that Fleming hated the Russians like a lot. The movies didn't want to do that. So when he works with the Russians, even in the best of circumstances, always throws me off. Like Bond wouldn't do that. He doesn't like them. That's why the Spy Who Loved Me novelization is so good. Is he's finally like, I have to work with Smash, and it's specifically Smash, even though that doesn't make a lot of sense that it's Smash. Smash had been disbanded in Fleming's continuity before that takes place. Maybe they were in hiding.
Or they came back. You know, it's fine. Okay. They also come back in the Gardner books.
Well, Spectre comes back in the Gardner books with mind control ice cream. So like anything's possible. But this, we get Q's stupid remote controlled robot.
Oh my god, yeah.
That's the dumbest thing Q's that's saying something. There's been some dumb Q items, but why out of all of them does the dumb robot come back? You know what I prefer? The couch that eats you.
That it may be useful.
That might be useful. I think that's what one is that in? Is that Living Daylights?
Yeah, that's Living Daylights.
Yeah. Or the Ghetto Blaster, which is
that thing is awesome.
It's awesome.
That deserves his own movie.
Yeah. But that's the dumbest Q gadget that ever.
It's a remote control robot. It's like a toy that you can buy in a store.
And it goes through the cat door. Because, oh yeah, the Bond girl has a cat. which is okay with shotgun blasts. When Bond's fighting all those guys, that is one that I did laugh when he shoots all the guys with the shotgun, and he's like, and they all get back up, and he's like, "What do you have in this?" She's like, "Rock salt." So they just all got bruises.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a couple decent jokes in here, but yeah.
They're so few and far between.
What do you think about, speaking of the Bond girl and her home? Remember when Bond made souffle?
Yes, I hated it. I hate all of their, like, we'll put in quotations, love moments, because they have no chemistry, and she's kind of obnoxious. James Bond is lying to her constantly, to the point when he reveals that he's a British agent to the firefighters. She's like, "What?" And then you're like, "What? This is the time for this?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you just go back to lying?" Because he's pretending to be, that's right, he's pretending to be a news reporter
Mm.
when he's in San Francisco, which doesn't work either. We have to talk about the quarry.
Okay.
Kind of a cool set. So Zoran's like going to flood Silicon Valley, and they're using this quarry to do it. The Bond girl's like like she's like a geologist, which I don't buy that for a second. It's like when Christmas Jones is a nuclear physicist. I don't. Well, all right, I buy her more as a geologist than Denise Richards being anything other than terrible acting eye candy. But this is far fetched because
Yep.
she does nothing really geologist related.
Isn't she the one who at the end shows like the map and it's like, oh, so this is Zoran's plan. He's gonna flood Silicon Valley.
Yes, but Bond does half of that dialogue.
Yep.
And we have all of the Zoran just doesn't give a crap about anyone, which is pretty funny.
That's his best scene in the movie, I think, when he's just murdering the people there.
Yeah, and he's like he's doing it himself.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gunning people down there trying to escape the flooding. Alison Doody has her best acting moment in this of sheer horror when she gets killed in the flood. They're flooding the tunnels, and then Mayday ends up. She sacrifices herself with the mine cart with the bomb.
Yeah, because she switched sides. We got a redemption arc.
Yes.
Which doesn't work at all. Okay, Jaws did it better.
Yes. A lot of things did it better, but she saw all of her female friends were all drowned. They were clearly not dummies in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the blimp fight, which Bond jumps onto a blimp.
Oh wait! First, we have to talk about Donna's mom from that '70s show getting kidnapped by Christopher Walken, because he's approaching her from behind with the blimp, ultra slowly. It should be loud, and she doesn't notice anything, and he's just coming up behind her and just takes her.
She notices nothing. They have the fight, and Bond's hanging off the blimp, and then the blimp gets tangled in the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, and that's when they have the final fight.
Mm-hmm.
And Christopher Walken is like fighting with an axe.
Yes, which I think Quantum of Solace tried to pay homage to. That also has a fight with a fire axe.
Oh yeah, let's pay homage to our favorite movie. I mean, it was an action scene in the air. So it makes sense why Mark Forster would like it so much.
Yes, and Daniel Craig is a big Roger Moore fan.
Mm. Right, he did the alligator reference in Skyfall and kicking the car in No Time to Die.
Mhm. Um, I, I think this is one of the few times I'll say Quantum of Solace did it better. That fight actually looks good in Quantum of Solace. I say looks good. I think it's edited terribly, but that's all American action scenes, in my opinion. It's edited fine. It doesn't look like an elderly man and a man that doesn't do fighting are fighting one another with
On
an
a green
axe.
screen.
No, it wasn't a green. They didn't have green screens yet. It was a blue
Yeah, but blue screen.
because it looks terribly composited.
Hmm.
And
That's
then they,
also when Christopher Walken, he's about to fall from the bridge, in the water to his death,
yeah,
and we get his Nazi adoptive dad screaming at him,
yes,
and then he tries to avenge him by getting some dynamite or something, and he accidentally blows the blimp up.
yes. It leaves Bond and Donna's mom on top of the Golden Gate Bridge, and then they have weird shower sex, and that's the end of.
Oh, that's the after credit scene because Q uses his toy robot to spy on them, having a shower together.
Yeah, it goes through the cat door.
Yeah, and with that, we end.
We
That's
not
the end of Roger Moore's tenure.
Yes. And I hate it. I hate it because that joke's already been done so many times
Hmm.
with Q spying on Bond having sex.
Yeah,
It doesn't
Octopussy did a nice twist on it.
Yeah, well, Q wasn't spying on them.
Yeah, that's why it was nice. It was something different.
Yeah, I mean, we had that in Spy Who Loved Me,
Mhm.
Moonraker, For Your Eyes Only. Although I hate the Margaret Thatcher stuff because I think it's dated. It's the only thing dated in that movie.
Mhm.
It was different, but we're just going back to lazy form.
Yeah.
And this is just one of the worst Bond movies ever. Like
Yeah.
we've said it way times.
That's the theme of this movie. Let's just do the stuff again. It's going through the motions.
Yes, yes.
Because you can tell there was a point with even Moonraker. Okay, we want another James Bond movie. We have an idea. Star Wars is big. Let's do space. Let's get then the next one. Let's get back on track. Realistic spy thriller for your eyes only.
Mhm.
After that, okay, let's do this again, but with more fun elements and adventurous film. Octopussy.
Make it bigger.
Make it bigger, more epic because it's the Battle of the Bonds as well. But then this one, it's like, okay, let's make another one. What do we have? Christopher Walken,
Mhm.
Grace Jones, and microchips.
Yeah. And the whole thing is, it's clear they were looking for another Bond for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Which was we'll talk about it here a little bit. Which it was they wanted Pierce Brosnan at this point. They didn't get Pierce Brosnan, but that was what they were trying for, and they ended up with Dalton. But you'll notice that the next film also feels like it could have been a Roger Moore movie because they always had that option to bring Moore back because he had a fairly okay relationship with the Broccoli's.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as hateful as Sean Connery's relationship with them. I think he had the worst relationship with them out of any of the actors.
Yeah, between him and I think Brosnan is a close second. Lazenby is also pretty bad, but yeah.
Craig's was kind of tenuous too.
He got the best relationship. He became a producer.
Well,
and got his will. Every wish, everything he wanted. He got to die finally as Bond. He got to murder the character because Barbara Broccoli is such a fan of Craig. He's the best.
She
Bond.
bent over backwards though. That took a lot because he was done after Spectre.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that was his end. The end. Well, I think Skyfall was also kind of the end too.
Yep.
Because it took so long to get Skyfall off the ground.
Oh yeah, but I think that's more behind the scenes problems again, which is a recurring trend with the franchise.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to the real bad behind the scenes stuff yet.
Hmm.
We're about to get there with the issues.
Yeah, but you know what's funny? I want to bring this up. The reason Roger Moore quit, and he's quoted as saying this, apparently when he had his scene with Tanya Roberts, Donna's mom from that 70s show, her mother came to set one day, to visit her, and Roger realized he was older than her mother.
Yeah,
And that's when he was like, oh my god, I have to stop this.
yeah, that makes sense. And he was only doing it for the fans.
Mhm.
He seemed, I will say this, he seemed to be the only one kind of caring.
Yeah,
Yes.
he tries. He has his funny moments in this.
Yeah.
It's just his face, sadly.
It's just, he's too old. It's just, it happens to everyone.
Mhm.
That's why Sylvester Stallone's not the lead in Expendables 4. He's just too old. But anyway, let's rank all of the Roger Moore films. I'll start with my. Do you want to go first with your worst one, and then I go with my worst one and go?
Okay,
There's
let
6 of these, 7 of these.
7.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, 7. Okay, worst one, View to a Kill.
agreed. That's also my worst one.
And we just talked about why. So that's 7. 6 would be Moonraker.
Yes, same.
Yeah,
It's
I don't hate it,
stupid.
but yeah.
It's a stupid movie. I didn't hate it as much as this. I blocked most of this out completely. I didn't remember half of it.
Yeah, the one thing
That's-
you can say about Moonraker, it's not boring.
No, but there's a lack of violence from Bond. Bond doesn't kill anyone
Hmm.
in Moonraker. Oh, well, I think he kills the main villain.
Yeah.
He never shoots his gun ever. He never fires at anyone. So,
But yeah,
but
like I
then
said earlier,
it
it
has
also is
it gets eaten by dogs.
the most brutal scene in the franchise.
Yeah, that's pretty flippin' bad.
Yeah, but it also has the better villain henchman redemption arc for Jaws.
Yes.
Oh yeah, so that's Moonraker's number 6. Number 5 would be The Man with the Golden Gun.
Okay, yeah, that's where I put it too.
Yeah,
And this was tough for me because I think that Moore's first 2 films are kind of interchangeable in quality.
Mm.
But the big thing with Man with the Golden Gun that stands out is Christopher Lee.
For sure, because he overshadows Roger Moore.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of an issue.
Yeah.
But I think them facing off at the end is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was my first time ever seeing Roger Moore as Bond. It was the second or third Bond movie I ever saw.
Nice.
But the karate fight's terrible. It's really funny, but it's terrible. Also, the gi they put on Roger Moore is too small.
Great.
They got one and he's like, oh, he's too tall for this. We'll just put it on him anyway. No one's gonna know. So that was 5.
Yeah, 4 would be Live and Let Die. I give
Yes,
this one the edge because it has a better villain ensemble cast, and they don't necessarily overshadow Roger Moore in this.
yes, and Lafayette Coda, although it has the terrible mask.
The mask, and at the end when he inflates.
Yes,
But yeah, it's just too much fun. And him and his entire crew of bad guys, just too good.
music's a little better too than it is in Man with the Golden Gun.
Yeah. So that's 4. Now the top 3 was difficult for me. Number 3 would be The Spy Who Loved Me.
Same. Okay, let's talk about this because this was tough.
Mhm.
I've been thinking about this for weeks now, and this was tough with the top 3. Would you like to go first?
Please go ahead.
Okay. For me, this is one of the better. Bond teams up with a bunch of people at the end, teams up with an army, which is not a thing anymore.
Mhm.
Bond has big adventures and stuff, but this is the last one that's good. It's not the last one now that I think about it, because Moonraker does it, but in space, and it looks terrible. But this is the one I think looks the best. It even looks better than Thunderball. With
Mm.
all the scuba divers fighting, I think that's just ridiculous. I know that's from the book, but it's goofy.
I think this is the last like ultra big one
Yeah,
that people also think of when you think like the big epic Bond movies. Spy Who Loved Me is usually the one.
yeah, and the theme, it's thematic with Russia and Britain teaming up to take on someone. The Cold War thaws a bit, and
Mhm.
but at the same time, I don't like those. I don't prefer that over like standard Bond adventures where it's like lower stakes, but it's high stakes, but it's lower stakes. It's not, the world isn't in danger.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, is that similar to your reasoning behind it?
Similar, yeah. I mean, I like it, and like I said, I do think this is the best out of the entire world is in danger. Like, we can compare it to Moonraker or You Only Live Twice.
Mhm.
But yeah, I kind of miss this type of Bond movie, and I actually wish it would come back.
Yes.
They tried to do it with No Time to Die, I guess.
They tried to do it with Die Another Day.
Hmm.
Like,
But that failed miserably.
yeah, every time they try to do this, they just think, oh, that's too cheesy, and they back away. And then it arguably becomes worse, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like in No Time to Die, like the stuff we liked. It's like the Cyclops and the Spectre meeting with the eyeball.
Yeah,
Go a bit cheesy. Just do it.
yes. I had completely forgotten about the Cyclops guy. His death was
Best
pretty funny, too. And I loved that.
Yeah, I think he's the best henchman in the Craig era.
Well, it's him or Batista. I
Mm.
do like the Batista fight in Spectre. That might be the only thing I like about Spectre. But what was the so number two?
Number two, okay, let me say it. It's controversial. We may differ here. And this could change, one and two could change any day depending on my mood. My number two, For Your Eyes Only.
Okay, mine's Octopussy.
There you go.
So why? What was the deciding factor?
The deciding factor for me was just my personal fun factor. Because For Your Eyes Only obviously is great. It's a great down to earth spy thriller. Great performances, great story, great Bond girl, great villains. All around, it's just a solid movie, looks good, sounds good. I just really enjoy it. Okay, it's just really well made. And just big course correction after Moonraker.
Mhm.
Like, you wouldn't even believe these are in the same franchise if you watch them back to back.
Yes.
But so yeah, that's all the reasons why it's my number two. Like I said, great. And I think it's just, if I had to recommend people a Roger Moore movie, it's either this or Spy Who Loved Me.
Okay.
But yeah, I think this is Moore's best performance as Bond.
So I chose Octopussy at number two. It was really tough. This top three was really tough to do. Octopussy was the most surprising. I didn't remember this movie at all. I said that in the previous episodes.
Mhm.
I didn't remember this at all, which turns out I don't remember it. Didn't remember A View to a Kill either, and it was kind of shocking how bad it was. But this one, I thought it was going to be not as good as The Spy Who Loved Me, and I was wrong. We get some awesome female characters in this, like a whole band of like thieves that kick ass and stuff. That's fun. Q has a blimp. No, he has a hot air balloon, which is
Yep.
hilarious. There's some really fun stuff in this. The whole Bond being hunted. He's running through the jungle.
Mhm.
It-
And the
it's-
entire, being in India, a great
Mhm.
place for adventures, just a good setting. Good side
Yeah.
characters like VJ.
Yes, the yurt chase is fun. The train fight's fun. Everything's fun, but I ranked it lower because my number one. I'll get into why
Mhm.
I have it as number one. But your number one's Octopussy.
My number one is Octopussy. This is the movie I think I've watched the most, and it was a surprising hit for me. Because when I first watched the Bond movies, I got them all on DVD, and I just watched through them all, mostly like in publishing order how they came out. Uh, but the Roger Moore movies, after Moonraker, I kind of stopped for a while, and I was like, do I want to continue? And then I just jumped into like the Dalton and Brosnan stuff first. But then I went back, and For Your Eyes Only was already great. And then I got to Octopussy, which I didn't have any expectations, and it just blew me away. This is the movie, if it's like a rainy Saturday, you're stuck at home, you want to watch something fun, a fun adventure. Octopussy, it just delivers. And only on watching it the first time, I realized that's the first Bond movie I've ever seen, technically. Because I remember as a small child on TV flickering through the channels and landing on the scene where Bond is talking to Octopussy, the character.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So that was a nice discovery as well.
I don't think you mentioned that in the episode.
Hmm.
When we reviewed it. I don't recall that. I mean, my first one was You Only Live Twice. It's because I liked ninjas, so my dad put it on, and I was enthralled by a volcano fortress.
Hmm.
But yeah, my number one is For Your Eyes Only. It's in my top 5 best Bond movies ever. It really just shows that this is the same Bond, that code theory is not a thing.
Yeah.
This is the man that married Tracy,
Mm-hmm.
and he's getting older. He kills Blofeld in the beginning. He wraps things up, and then he sees this Bond girl that wants revenge, and he's like, "Don't do it. It didn't. I don't feel any better about this. I don't feel even. I don't feel anything." And he's been there, and it's some good Bond characterization before the Craig era deconstructed the whole character.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty progressive for the time. It's brutal in the right ways,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time has fun Roger Moore stuff. It's a perfect balance.
Yeah. Oh, and the plot is very, down to earth, simple, and with a great ending. With what's his name? Gogol. No, I'm forgetting it.
Yes.
One of the best moments just in the franchise.
Mm-hmm. It was nice.
Yeah, like I said, that's why it's so hard between Octopussy and For Your Eyes Only. And I think Octopussy is slept on. I think that's legitimately the most underrated Bond movie. People write it off like way too easily. But For Your Eyes Only, it had kind of a renaissance among fans.
Yeah. I think so. So anyway, that was our the end of an era, but we're about to start the beginning of a short-lived but very, very good era with Timothy Dalton. Join us next time as we record The Living Daylights. Have a good one.
Goodbye.